I get asked a lot about my routine, and running a business that's quite a big business and having family and working from home is a bit of a juggling act. And so, over the last 10 years, I've really fine tuned my daily routine. So, I'm going to share that today because it takes a bit of trial and error to get those limited hours in the days productive when they need to be and able to switch off when you need to switch off too. So, here's how I survive and hopefully thrive and try and keep a healthy, balanced lifestyle and a healthy, profitable business. So it certainly doesn't come about by accident. You have to be pretty disciplined and deliberate with your lifestyle design. There's a really good book by Bill Burnett, who's the Stanford professor, and he taught it with another professor as well on lifestyle design. I can pop a link for that in the notes. But that's a really good book to think about how you actually want to live. And then you can make your business work for you and make sure you've got a typical day that is the sort of day you want in your life. Otherwise, you can create a Frankenstein of a business with back-to-back calls or super stressed with no free time. So I've figured out a few things that work, and some of these might be useful for you. So here we go. So one of the things I take really seriously is sleep. And I don't know if you follow Brian Johnson with his Don't Die, really extreme, really crazy scientific approach to living forever. But he's an interesting character. I actually like him more than I used to. And I'm sort of watching and learning a bit from him. But he takes sleep really seriously. I used to track it. I used to have all the Oura rings, and then I had an Apple Watch. At the moment, I haven't got any tech on at all, no watch at all, because who has never just got their phone next to them? So I've just gone low tech on that, and I just go to bed sort of 10-ish and then generally sleep through. But I do have a bad habit of listening to an audiobook or a podcast sometimes to get to sleep, which isn't ideal, but at least my eyes are closed and I'm not looking at a screen. And then in the mornings, up pretty early, I have black coffee. So I don't do this very deliberate intermittent fasting thing, but I tend to just not eat breakfast. I have a really strong coffee and I feel it hit my veins. It feels amazing. I can give up anything, but I cannot give up coffee. I've done no alcohol, no sugar, no problem, no gluten, doesn't make any difference. No coffee. Just people had words with me. I think you should start drinking coffee again. So just hopeless without that coffee. Just only one or two sometimes, but I really need it. So I've got a machine at home. I used to go out for coffee, but I've just saved myself half an hour and a few dollars a day by having a good machine at home and fresh beans. And then I collect my eggs from the girls. They've got chickens, so that's very wholesome. I've got four chickens, so 4 eggs is a good start to a day, but not today. Something's off. Only a couple. And then I get the kids ready for school, so that's not too hard at the moment. They're a bit older and pretty self-sufficient, but I like sit down in a chat with them and making sure they're set up for the day. Remember to brush their teeth and other fun stuff. So the first sort of half hour is sort of in the kitchen and just very chilled. And then I usually have some work to do because living in New Zealand, all my emails from the rest of the world come in overnight. So I look at them and then I don't usually hit the hard stuff until I've had a dog walk. But sometimes if there's something really niggly, like a tricky email to write or something that somebody's asked for urgently, or I need to do a video recording before I get all windswept, because it's often quite windy where I live, we go down to the lake with the dog. So I usually just do a couple of quick things just to clear the decks and get my head straight. And then what I actually do is I've got these nice boxes. Whenever I'm at a nice museum, I buy a box of postcards. So at the moment I'm on a set of national park postcards. I'm actually about halfway through the pack. But what I do is write a daily to-do list of what I need to do on one of these. So today I've got to record a couple of videos and got about 3 or 4 other little jobs, and then I've got some non-work things which I put on there. So I've got to make a doctor's appointment for my son who's just broken his collarbone and needs to have another appointment, and there's like a few little bits that I put them all in one place, like pick something up in town, like any errands go on my little postcard list, and also the big work projects. And then I just sort of look at what order they need to be done in, and I try and do the mentally taxing ones first and then low brain power things later in the day. And then I also look at the weather forecast. A lot of my day is, I don't like being inside working if it's beautiful outside. And if I get to choose what time of day I take the dog for a walk, I'll not go when it's dark and frosty in the winter. And I will watch the weather if it's going to clear in the afternoon and go a bit later. And some days I'll go for just a quick half hour around the block down to the lakefront and back, which is nice. Or sometimes I'll go for an hour and a half. And what I actually like to do is do all my work calls while I'm walking the dog. So sometimes it's too windy down the lake at the beach. But I have got a walk that tucks along trees one way, and I can nearly always do work calls there. And I actually usually ring my mum most days, so I usually catch up with her while I'm walking the dog. And I often listen to audiobooks. And actually, the last thing I've been listening to walking the dog has been a course on hypnosis with a guy called Mike Mandel, which has been really interesting, not to use in my business, but more of a personal interest thing. But it's just really cool topic. So I've just done a little course on that while I've been walking and listening. And so a bit weather dependent, a little bit workload dependent, but the mornings definitely there's some coffee, there's some fresh air, and there's not too much sitting down. And the middle of the day, I tend to do a big block of focused work. So I don't have any timers. I'm afraid there is no productivity hack here with the Pomodoro technique answering everything you've ever been waiting for, or an app that gets all your work done for you. I think it's just discipline and being motivated in your business to want to work in your business and work on your business. So there's usually some output, it's either a recording or a call or something where I've got to deliver. I quite like just doing something chunky in the middle of the day, and then I'll have sort of a late-ish lunch. There's a new ramen noodle place in town, so I've been a big fan of going there, and I go there so much they give me free edamame beans now, so that's good. And then in the afternoons, try and spend some more time outside, go to the sauna. There's a beautiful sauna just where the outlet of the lake turns into the river, and there's this beautiful spot, and there's a sauna there which I have a membership to, so it's outdoors but with lake dips, and it's beautiful. So my partner and I usually do that probably 3 or 4 times a week in the afternoons, and that's really nice. It's total brain reset, and I never do any work after that really. And then evenings, I'm teaching my son to cook, so he's doing lots of barbecues, and the day seems to fly by every day. So in the afternoons, there's a 5:30 yoga class I quite often go to, tennis 2 evenings a week with some girls that play doubles. I've got a dodgy knee at the moment, so running's off, but sometimes the dog walks a run, or there's a run before the dog walk. She doesn't like it when I do that. She knows I'm going without her, but sometimes it's nice just to have 2 hands free and to not be responsible for anybody. And then sometimes the gym, but I do find that a bit boring. So I tend to do weights at home. So I've got a few good YouTube channels. I just do a 30-minute weights class at home that can do outdoors as well on the deck, which is nice. So I've just got some free weights and a yoga mat and kind of keep moving. So there's usually quite a lot of steps. I think my average step count's 19,000. I seem to have big days. It's a bit less when I'm not wearing my Apple Watch, but yeah, it's quite an active day. So I found that tech doesn't really change my habits for the better. Like, it's sort of interesting to know your sleep score, but sometimes if you've got a bad sleep score, you then write off the day and actually just need to push on and get on with the day. It was quite useful for tracking, like if I drank alcohol, if I had a glass of wine or 2 watching a movie late, that definitely affected my sleep score. Oh my goodness, there's a cat in with my chickens. I'm going to go and clap at it. Oh, naughty cat. Get out. Get out. Yeah, that's not good. Nasty next door neighbour's cat keeps stalking my chickens. Actually, it's a bit awkward because the next door neighbour whose cat it is actually a client of mine. Had a good go at him once about his out of control animals because his dog comes into my garden too. Anyway, that's an aside. The girls are very upset, squawking. Anyway, back to work. So yeah, the tech hasn't helped me be more productive or change my habits really. It was a bit interesting and sort of fine-tune some habits a little bit, but I don't like living and dying by what the readiness score is or whatever. I know a lot of people live, with their Apple Watch tracking everything and their Garmin watch telling them they didn't run as fast this week as last week, and I just think it's a bit intrusive. So I quite like keeping things quite simple and low tech. There's plenty of tech in my online business, and try and keep just things quite simple. So do a lot of cooking from scratch and get my children involved in the cooking and things. And then my son has tutoring a couple of evenings a week, and yeah, that's my routine. So try and get to bed quite early. If I have a good sleep, everything goes well. And if I eat well, I feel well, and then exercise, and then work goes well. So you kind of get this positive upward spiral when things are all on track. And then you just need a setback for you to realise, there's nothing like a health thing to really show up how much health's really everything. So I've had a couple of health things this year. One was a snapped couple of hamstrings, which I tore off in Vegas, walking along a hallway at a conference, which wasn't very rock and roll, but yeah, had to have surgery and crutches and a bit of a disruptive month or two, 5 weeks on crutches and no driving. So hadn't planned for that, but I got on with some work. And then there's been a couple of other things this year, various things with family and stuff. So it's never quite as you plan it. So I think the main thing is to be ahead with work and hit your to-do list of the hard deliverables as soon as you know they're going to have to be done, just get them done. And that's been good at just, if something unexpected happens, there's a bit of slack in the system to cope without you for a while. And then, of course, if you've got a business that's built on digital assets rather than running a service all day, every day, you've built your business, you built your product, and that can often sell and keep running without too much ongoing input. So nice to have a business that allows you to have a really good lifestyle. And my cash burn rate's really low. I mean, my life's very simple. The things I enjoy doing are very cheap or kind of subscription based. Like I've got a subscription to the sauna, I've got a tennis club membership, I pay for big blocks of yoga. Went twice on Sunday this week. I did a really hard class in the morning, then a yin in the afternoon, and that was really good. Slept like a log. But yeah, I think if you walk a bit, sweat a bit, eat good food, and have good media input. So I haven't talked about social media and stuff. So I don't post on social media really. I do this YouTube channel, but I've never done one Instagram post in my life. Some marketers have done some to promote another course I had, but I don't share anything sort of about my life on Instagram or Facebook. And I try not to scroll. So the things I'm working on are less just hanging out on my phone, just watching rubbishy scrolling stuff. I've got a bad habit of doing that at the moment. If I get some good audiobooks downloaded or get some good podcasts going, then that stops me doing that generally. And I always like to be learning something. So I always try and have a course I've signed up to watch or listen to. Quite like one I can listen to while I'm walking the dog, and then keeps my brain ticking along as I'm striding along. So my days are pretty simple. I really like having chickens, and I really like walking the dog. And I shouldn't say that too loudly because she's sitting right next to me and she'll hear me say the W word. And like having a few calls, you know, if there's somebody in my team who needs a check-in, try and keep Mondays free from calls, and Monday in New Zealand, still everybody's Sunday in the rest of the world. So it's a nice day to have a day to myself to get set up for the week. And usually that's the day I'll do a big walk or a big run or some more exercise than normal. So that's how I have, over 10 years, tweaked the schedule to stay on track, stay productive, stay healthy. I don't admire people that do the hustle and the grind and the endless hours and the 5 million emails and the posting on 6 simple YouTube channels and 10 other social media platforms every day. Want to kind of keep it as lean and minimalist as possible. And in fact, minimalism is pretty much how I try and live in every way. So keep things simple, don't have lots of decisions to make every day. Yeah, life's pretty straightforward. So if you'd like more insight on any of those bits, you know, the exercise routines or the minimalism or the tools I use to run my business, just pop it in the comments and I'll do a follow-up video to this one. Okay, thanks. See you in the next video.